live from Jerusalem. Thank you very much, Sasha, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now,
Thank you for having me.
thank you. Sasha, now what more can you tell us ever since we last time we talked? And is there anything that UAE can do to mediate between Israel and Hamas?
Yeah, so definitely, I think that the UAE has a significant role to play in mediation. The UAE is a partner to Israel. It's a regional partner, probably our strongest and best ally in the region, and a more moderate force. So the role they have to play is that of pushing for Hamas disarmament and also for rebuilding Gaza. Because in Israel, the assessment is that we'd rather have more moderate countries like the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia instead of Qatar or Turkey taking part in the forces on the ground or the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. And the UAE, we we hope that the UAE will join these efforts because they have a strong role to play, and we hope that they'll be a part of it.
And do you think any other countries will be joining Abraham Accords as well?
I think we've seen Indonesia looking like the most likely country to join recently. We saw in his speech at the UN his historic shalom, an open arm to the Israeli people and to the Israeli leadership. And we also heard some reports after the agreed ceasefire that Indonesia was planning on, the president was planning to come to visit Israel. In the end, it didn't happen, but we think that it's closer than ever. And it would be significant. Indonesia is the largest Muslim country in the world, and we have no reason to not be partners, not be allies. We have so much we could work on together, economic opportunities, and we expect Indonesia to be one of the first to join. Also, Saudi Arabia, we see that Trump is really going to push on this. Biden tried in his first term, and October 7th, of course, stopped this historic opportunity. But now that the war is over, it looks like more likely for Saudi Arabia to also join the Abraham Accords. Syria, it's more complicated. We see some sort of security arrangement more possible, but it's so unstable, the situation in Syria, and we still have much to see on the stability of al-Juliani's regime. And when it comes to Lebanon, Hezbollah still has to fully disarm, and we hope that the Lebanese government will be a partner in that. But it's more complicated for now to see Lebanon join the accords as long as Hezbollah is not fully demilitarized and removed, or at least weakened, severely weakened.
Thank you, Sasha, for sharing that thorough analysis on this region. And lastly, what are the key challenges that, we just saw or heard JD Vance, and he acknowledged the challenges. What do you think are the challenges in this region that and its partners face, U.S. and its partners face in balancing humanitarian aid for Gaza with the security goal of disarming Hamas?
Yeah, so the largest threat right now we're facing is Hamas is not stepping down and not disarming. We still have bodies of hostages in Gaza in violation of the ceasefire, of the agreement. But the most challenging issue right now will be the disarmament of Hamas. The U.S. already said that they don't want forces on the ground. We didn't expect the U.S. to send forces on the ground, but unless there's enough pressure put on Hamas exerted by Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt, it's going to be very complicated to see Hamas actually following and carrying through with their part of the deal, which means leaving Gaza. So we're going to have to see enough pressure being put in for this to happen, and at the same time bringing aid into Gaza is a necessity. The situation is catastrophic there. The humanitarian crisis caused by Hamas and inflicted on their own people is really tragic. And the challenge is the same challenge that we've had for the past 2 years. How do we bring in aid the Gazan people so desperately need, while avoiding Hamas and not strengthening Hamas and providing them tools to rebuild? We also see that Hamas will use every last breath to stay in power. Hamas will use every last bullet. Hamas will use every last soldier. And that's why we also think the assessment is that Hamas has more bodies available than what they've been saying. They're just not releasing them in accordance to the deal. They want to extract as many concessions as possible from Israel in the hopes that the disarmament will be delayed, and in the hopes that the international community won't pressure Hamas to disarm. So now is the time that we have to bring in aid to Gaza. We have at the same time pressure Hamas and only Hamas to disarm and to leave Gaza and to allow for the full implementation of the Trump plan.
Thank you, Sasha, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you. Now we stay in the topic in the region. The United Arab Emirates has called for a compromise to end the Middle East conflict. The advisor to the United Arab Emirates, President Anwar Gargash, urges security for Israel and a viable Palestinian state. He said that the recent Gaza ceasefire offers a key opportunity to change the course. Gargash has further stressed that old policies and maximalist views must be abandoned. He highlights the need to address the reality of two nationalisms competing for one land. He also warns that Israel's right-wing government must accept this fact. The UAE plays a crucial role in regional diplomacy. It has helped broker the Abraham Accords, normalizing ties with Israel. Gargash has warned Israeli annexation of the West Bank would be a red line. He urged focusing on making the U.S. plan to end the war in Gaza succeed. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates Minister of State Lana Nusseibeh has said that these accords aim to promote tolerance and peace. Let's have a look at what she has said.
In a state of the world where fragmentation is the norm, where you're seeing an erosion of one multilateral system that governs the international space, diplomatic agility and entrepreneurship is key in that space. And I think that's, I'm proud to have represented the foreign ministry for over 2 decades in this space, because I think where creative entrepreneurship in diplomacy is needed, the UAE has shown that, whether it's mediating over 5,000 prisoner exchanges between Russia and Ukraine, whether it's being, as Dr. Gargash has outlined, a key partner with the Arab region, but also with the United States and with Israel, using the Abraham Accords to help achieve this ceasefire in Gaza that was so desperately needed.
Go back to our guest discussion and we welcome Sasha Majta. He's a political commentator, joins us live from Jerusalem. Thank you very much, Sasha, for staying with us. Now, given the competing nationalisms described by UAE advisor, what do you think, what is realistic political solution which could acknowledge these realities while fostering coexistence and the history behind, which is still ongoing, of course?
Yeah, so first of all, regarding the UAE, let me just state that the UAE-Israel relations are strong. The UAE-Israel relations are probably the strongest alliance we have in the Middle East. Just recently, the UAE purchased land in Herzliya, Israel, to build its embassy. So we see that this is a permanent relationship and their input really matters to us. So addressing the claim of two competing nationalisms, there's no reason these nationalisms need to compete. At the end of the day, the Palestinians have been offered territory, they've been offered a state multiple times throughout history, and it's their rejectionism and maximalistic desires that have probably postponed a solution being reached years ago. So the doctrine should be maximum Israeli security and maximum control of the Palestinians' own lives, that they should have control of their lives, they should have less interactions with Israeli soldiers, they should have as much determination, self-determination, without giving up our security control. At the end of the day, Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, it looks over, the hilltops overlook all of Tel Aviv, it overlooks the center of Israel. It's a small territory, and we can't just unilaterally grant a Palestinian state. The Palestinian state will need to come through, if it ever comes, through reforms, through de-radicalization, through demilitarization, because as we see, unfortunately, the leading Palestinian polls show Hamas still the most popular group in the West Bank. So that's not possible to just grant a state at this period. It's going to have to take certain reforms and de-radicalization, because even if the PA were to take a state right now, it would probably be overthrown by Hamas, as already happened in Gaza. We can't repeat the mistakes of the past, but we must acknowledge that the only path forward is a path where Palestinians can live in peace, can live with control of their lives, but without giving up any ounce of our own security. And I think that that's what the UAE understands. They understand that Israeli security is a must. Israel can't just make concessions, and it's the Palestinians that will have to go through a process of de-radicalization and prove that they can be a viable neighbor. So that's our hope, that we'll have peace, and we hope that the Palestinians will abandon their desire and their years of terror and look for a future of peace and coexistence.
Thank you very much, Sasha Machta, for sharing that insight as a political commentator from Jerusalem. Now we stay on this topic. Recent footage from Gaza shows humanitarian aid arriving as the ongoing ceasefire holds in the conflict-ridden region. Trucks carrying food, medical supplies, and essential resources enter areas previously cut off due to hostilities, providing much-needed relief to civilians. The ceasefire has enabled relief agencies to safely coordinate distribution, ensuring access to vulnerable groups, including children, the elderly, and families displaced by recent conflict. Authorities and international organizations emphasize the importance of maintaining the truce to allow uninterrupted humanitarian operations. Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza remains fragile. The delivery of supplies highlights a crucial step in reducing human suffering and supporting communities during this challenging period. Observers note that ongoing monitoring and cooperation among local and international agencies is essential to sustain these relief efforts.